Just a gentle reminder, folks, before we begin the services for Dr. Robert A. Katin. If you have a cell phone with you, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off completely. That would be appreciated. The services will be conducted by Rabbi Scott Simon, Cantor Scott Simon from Temple High.
No worries. Welcome, everyone, this afternoon. Before we continue with a service of memorial for Bob Katin, I'd like to welcome up Bob's grandson, Justin. Bob only had one request for his funeral. Even back before Justin knew he was going to be a singer. This is an old request of his. And that one thing he ever shared with the family is that he wanted to hear The Rose, Bette Midler's famous song from the movie of the same title. He wanted to know that was played at his funeral. And then, of course, as in these times, as the days grew closer, they realized that no one would be more appropriate to sing for Bob than his own grandson. And so here's Justin to share The Rose.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger in endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance. It's the one who won't be taking, who cannot seem to give. And the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies a seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.
This morning, or this afternoon, excuse me, we have gathered together as a community of family and friends to both honor the memory and celebrate the life of Dr. Robert Katin. And that was such a poignant celebration. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Justin. That was just beautiful. We are also here to show our love and support to his loving family who mourn him and are struggling to find a sense of wholeness and peace now that their beloved husband, father, grandfather, brother-in-law, and friend, their beloved Bob, their beloved Zayde, has been taken from them. It has been said you can kiss your family and friends goodbye and put oceans and even years between you. But love and the holy creative spark of life that is in each of us renders that time and space as if they were but an inch or a moment. When we are open to love as Bob was, when we share it freely with integrity, generosity, self-assurance, and calm, as he did, then our God-given souls integrate and carry all that we love within us. A love that strong binds us to those we love eternally and allows us not to simply live in this world, but allows worlds to live in each of us eternally. Bob's life was a life of love, joyfully and thoughtfully lived. The emotions that fill our hearts are buoyed by our prayer that Bob is in a better place and surrounded and sustained by the love, moments, and miles we have all shared with him while he walked this earthly plane. Bob was born in Philadelphia and attended Philadelphia Academic High School. His father was a very well-known and respected scoutmaster for 50 years, leading the Philadelphia inner city scouting program. And Bob grew up in the BSA scouting movement with his dad. He loved camping, fishing, and hiking, and getting to know kids from every type of background. And at a young age, he was very involved and became a scout leader himself, quietly teaching and modeling self-reliance and selflessness, two traits that were his hallmark, to the many young kids he worked with. Many people have commented on Bob being the least judgmental person who treated everyone as equals, no matter their background. Perhaps growing up in a Jewish home where the meritocracy and honor-based values of scouting were not just taught but exemplified, lived, and witnessed through his father's commitments and efforts, perhaps this nurtured his perspective on equality and the value of every person to make a contribution to the greater good, and made him such a great teacher. Bob went to Ursinus College for pre-med. He went to dental school at the University of Pennsylvania, and then medical school at the University of Pennsylvania for maxillofacial surgery studies. He interned there and then did his residency in Detroit. Marcia and Bob met at the Sherry Frontenac Hotel in Miami. I Googled it. It's still there. And gets pretty good reviews. And while they were both on vacation, and continued a long-distance relationship that grew into something closer and then into marriage. They were married in Evanston and honeymooned in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Soon after, Bob was joined the military and was stationed in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, where he attended the U.S. Command and General Staff College and practiced surgery for a year before being sent to Vietnam, where he was a doctor of facial and maxillofacial surgery at the command hospital there. He also served double duty as the rabbi there at the time, and through his position met many interesting people in the upper levels of the American and South Vietnamese armies. Marcia's roots were in Chicago, and so when he returned from the Army, they settled in Illinois, and he taught, he was given a professorship at the University of Illinois, and took while he waited to take his exams to be licensed in the state of Illinois to practice surgery. And here's where they stayed and began their family. Bob began and grew his practice, becoming a leading maxillofacial surgeon in the United States, where he with his partners are credited for developing dental implants, working with dental companies on design and ergonomics, and training all the dental surgeons in Chicago at the time on installation and care once they were developed. He was well known and respected in the Chicago area as a top facial surgeon and held the position of president of the Oral Surgery Society. In words shared by his partners and colleagues who have known Bob for decades, some would say a lifetime, Bob was not just a partner, but a compassionate, kind mentor whose integrity, methodical approach, calm ability, and absolute confidence in you and your abilities and your partnership with him made him an inspiring teacher, made him a brother and a lifelong colleague and a friend of inestimable value. But through all of his lifetime of practice and his many achievements, successes, and glowing adulation from all his patients and partners in the field, his partners in his office would be the first to tell you that nothing was more important to Bob than his family. Marcia could not be more proud of her loving and devoted husband, who was an absolute rock, provider, and best friend to her for all these years. He was her partner raising her wonderful children and selflessly supported their growing families with a calm, virtuous example of what a strong, selfless patriarch was. And looking back at the last 10 months, Marcia shared that he never expected anything from anyone else and was just always devoted to his family, that he'd always taken care of her, and she was so honored and proud to take care of him, over the last 10 months. Her brother Stephen was also there by his bedside as a constant companion, supporter and caregiver and friend who couldn't do enough. Stephen often echoed the thoughts of so many. No one was as selfless as Bob. His daughter Lisa shared that he was a wonderful father, always there, always focused on family, and generously providing for them. He was always calm and soft-spoken. Not only did he not say a bad word about anyone, she doesn't think he even ever had a bad thought about people. Richard shared that he was so proud to be his son. He remembers all the time he opened the house to all of his USY friends who called him Dr. Bob and looked up to him and respected him and hung on his every word as a true mentor. He also shared how wonderful it was to have the New Traditions a cappella barbershop chorus to share with Bob when Bob joined the group, and then as well with his nephew Adam. Richard will always remember his father as the most caring guy who never raised his voice. Bob's son-in-law Phil, who Bob and Marcia always proudly called their son, has often said that Bob was the best person I ever met. He was a man of few words, but if he said something, you took it as gospel. His life was an exemplary model of a thoughtful, methodical person. His daughter-in-law Jennifer, who he and Marcia only also thought of as a beloved daughter as well, said, what the whole family each what the whole family each echoed in their own words. And that was that Bob was so knowledgeable and so well read. If anyone had a question on any topic, everyone would say, call Zayde, he has the answer. She also shared that games and fun times shared with Bob were such a joyous thing to look forward to, and some of her most touching memories, as they were often partners in card games, and puzzles, and often competed against Marcia and Justin. She shared that he was warm, kind-hearted, loving to his children and grandchildren, and that his laugh made everyone else laugh, and that his joy was contagious. His beloved grandchildren shared memories of Zayde always being entertaining, at restaurants, playing logic puzzles, and Who Am I, to keep them busy and laughing as they grew and learning. He tried to share his love of interesting things, his love of learning, his love of reading, things like astronomy and natural history. One particular memory of her bat mitzvah trip Brianna shared with me was climbing a mountain in Montenegro. Everyone was exhausted and winded from the climb, and then up followed Bob, relaxed, calm, and out of breath, out of place. Adam shared his love of his grandfather and how great it was traveling to Spain for his bar mitzvah and singing in the choir with his grandfather, and how the chorus really misses him, and asked after his well-being often. His love of singing also brought him closer together with his adoring grandson, Justin. Shared activities always brought so much joy to the family. They were a team, and they did things together. Every winter, spending in Florida, the entire clan, and the incredible trips that they all shared over the years. Marcia and Bob loved to travel. They traveled the world, and for them, the journey was often just as important as the destination. They'd always take time to travel and see the different cities on their way down to Florida each year for decades. So the journey was a wonderful, romantic, and fun vacation just as much as the destination. To share more thoughts about Bob and his impact on the family, I'd like to now welcome my dear friend Lisa Cole to share thoughts of her father.
Can you all hear me? Okay. Whenever anyone talks about my dad, they describe him as being a saint, which is a little strange for a Jewish man to be described as a saint, but that's what everybody says. So in thinking about what everyone means when they use that word to describe him, is he was the kindest, gentle man who lived to do for others, expecting nothing in return. He was a loving husband, taking care of my mom for 58 years, treating her like a queen. I recently had a conversation with him, and I asked him how he knew that she was the one. And he said, because she told me. He had a great sense of humor, very witty with great one-liners, a dry sense of humor, but nevertheless, great one-liners. He was the best dad, always taking care of my brother and me. One of the stories, many of you probably know it already, but my parents had gone out for the evening, and my uncle was babysitting for me. I was probably 5 years old. And I had snow white sheets with the animals, the scene from her being outside with other animals. and I had a nightmare that my family was being eaten by man-eating chickens. And when I woke up, now I know I was still dreaming, but at the time I saw a bird on my bed, and I freaked out and ran downstairs. And I refused to go upstairs in my room because there was a bird that was going to eat me. So I stayed with my uncle until my parents got home. And my dad got home, and he took a fishing net and went up in my room with the fishing net, went into the bathroom, flushed the toilet, and said, "Okay, the bird's gone now. You can go back to sleep." And I did. So he always made us feel very safe and protected. He was also the best Zayde to Adam and Brianna and Justin. They knew at a very early age just how special and selfless their Zayde was. Another story that many of you know. I was at Sunday school with Brianna at Temple High. It was one of those days that parents were invited to come, and we were talking about Jewish heroes, and the rabbi at the time told us to talk with our kids about Jewish heroes. And so everyone was trying to think about like famous baseball players that were Jewish or Jewish heroes like that. And I said to Brianna, Jewish heroes don't have to be famous. And I said, like, Grandma has all the Jewish holidays, so she would be a Jewish hero. And Brianna, she must have been 5, said, "I know who's a Jewish hero. Zayde is a Jewish hero." And I said, "Why is Zayde a Jewish hero?" And she said, "Because he always gets the food. He always goes to get the food." So even our kids knew how selfless he was. I also had the opportunity to know my dad professionally as I worked full-time in his office for many summers during college. And he was always giving and selfless with his patients as well, spending time with each of them, making them know he cared about them. At times, it drove us crazy in the back, as he was always running late because he spent so much time with all of them. But his patients loved it and loved him. And every night, he would call each patient to check on them, no matter what else was going on that evening. He would call every single one of them that night. My dad was also one of the smartest people I knew. We always said that he should be on Jeopardy. And you definitely wanted him as your phone a friend if you were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. My dad loved to travel, as we said, going on many trips with my mother and their friends, as well as some very special family trips. As children, we went on many road trips, and then more recently, our family went on an Alaskan cruise, a Bermuda cruise for my parents' 50th anniversary, and I will always treasure the memories of each year in Florida. My dad also loved music. He played the piano, and then later in life started singing in the New Tradition Chorus. And this is one of the only things that I can think of that he did just for himself. He was so happy to share this experience with my brother, and then later with my son. He worked really hard to learn all the music. It was not easy for him, but it brought him so much joy, and not only to be singing, but also establishing lifelong friendships within the New Tradition Chorus. So my hope today was to share what made my dad so special to so many people. He was not one to express his feelings, but everyone knew him. Everyone who knew him knew he cared and loved them. And anyone who knew him was better off having known him. I was so lucky that he was my dad, and I'll miss him.
Thank you, Lisa, for that beautiful memorial. And now I'm honored to introduce Richard.
When I sat down and started thinking about what I would want to say about my dad and tell everybody, it really brought back memories of a song, and the song really captures all my feelings. So instead of singing it, I thought I would just play it and let everyone listen to the words.
Oh, the man was not a saint, because no mortal man could be. But the man, he was the kind I've tried so very hard to be. For he said it does not matter what you earn or where you live. For a man, he is remembered by the way that he would give. And the man, he was a giver, and he gave with all his heart. But it pained him so to take, because he loved the giving part. So I give to you, my Father dear, in sad memoriam, that this man, he is a better man for knowing he's your son. Sanctified and hallowed is his kingdom over us all. Oh, say shalom bimrama, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'achol Israel ve'imru. Shalom bimrama, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'achol Israel ve'imru amen. So I give to you, my Father dear, in sad memoriam, that this man, he is a better man for knowing he's your son.
Thank you, Richard, for that beautiful montage. I'm sure you'll treasure that forever. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the Al Malay Rachamim prayer. Hail Malay Rachamim, Shokein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Takat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot kedoshim u'tehorim, kezohar harakia, mazirim, et nishmat Ruvain ben Avraham Beroz, Shalach leolamo, Began Eden tehei menuchato, Anabal Bal Harakamim Hastirehu beseter kenafecha Leolamim Utzeror Mitzror Achayim et Nishmato Adonai hu naklato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence amongst the holy and pure in the land of Eden, in the Garden of Eden, to the soul of Robert Katin, who has gone on to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he did perform in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai, you are his portion and the portion of his children and children's children. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Robert will be remembered by his daughter Lisa, son-in-law Phil, his grandson Adam, his granddaughter Brianna, his son Richard and daughter-in-law Jennifer, grandson Justin, by his brother-in-law Steve, and so many other friends and colleagues.
Please be seated for a few brief announcements. The interment will take place at Shalom Memorial Park, where military honors will be conducted, followed by the interment service with Cantor Scott Simon. For those of you going to the cemetery, we'll ask that you bring your cars into the lot, and we will make sure that you receive an orange safety sticker as well as a magnetic flag for your vehicle. And please keep your bright headlights on at all times, as well as your emergency flasher lights while in procession. The shiva will be observed at the Katin residence at 128 Oakmont Drive in Deerfield, following the interment today until 5:30 p.m., and then resuming at 6:30 this evening until 9 p.m., on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m., Saturday 6 to 9 p.m., Sunday 1 to 5:30, and then resuming 6:30 to 9, and on Monday 6 to 9 p.m. All this information is listed in the service folder you received on your way into the chapel, and for those of you online, it's also listed on our website. The following family members have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please step forward. Philip Cole, Jennifer Katin, Adam Cole, Brianna Cole, Justin Katin, Stephen Lane, and David Bard, and as honorary pallbearer, Dr. Robert Lubar. I'll ask everyone to please rise at this time as we escort the casket from the chapel.